Tapos, music bed. Okay. Boom, boom. All right. So 30 minutes lang taron?
Oh, 30 minutes na ta. Oh,
Okay.
30 minutes na ta.
So just yung first 10 minutes talk about Bangsamoro,
Yeah.
its significance, and then we'll talk about what's gonna happen moving forward. Siguro ano good kaning Bangsamoro man gyud ang atong sa di ba ang test case nato
It is.
for a change of government. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, pwede na.
Okay, let's go.
Larga.
Vámonos.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. Welcome to Istoryang Futbolero. My name's Ron Poblete. My co-host for our Friday edition, ang tinatawag na Constipation Friday, ay ang founder ng Correct Movement, si Orion Perez Dumdum. Orion, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening.
Bay. Kamusta
Good
na ba?
evening, Okay, ragyapon bay. I had a very fruitful discussion last night. Basically, it's a focused group discussion with basically moderated by the DILG. So we had our Arthur Franz Tenorio, who's a project officer at the DILG, as the moderator, and there was myself and member of Bangsamoro Parliament and Professor Eddie Mapag-Ali. So he was also a member of the
Good
CONCOM.
guy.
Yeah, good guy.
Mm-mm.
And so he's fully, for all members of the Correct Movement, he's fully on board with the 3-point agenda. So he is obviously a pro-federalism guy. He's also pro-parliamentary, and he's very, 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 very much pro-foreign direct investments. So it was really great. Actually, wala kaming clash at all. Talagang lahat ng sinabi niya, nag-a-add ako. Parang gano'n. Tapos parang sinabi ko, nag-a-add siya. As in, talaga, in sync talaga kami. We were just basically building upon each other's statements, So,
okay. Well, first of all, Orion, before we start the discussions, kasi syempre, something that is set by the wayside kasi rin to paminsan ang conversation when it comes to the Bangsamoro government. We knew even before time pa ni Pinoy ay talaga tinutulak talaga nila na magkaroon ng this is sort of like a concession, di ba? Sa mga sa ating mga kapatid na Muslim who live in Mindanao. And
Indeed.
The history talaga dito ang pinaka-importanting bagay na maintindihan ng ating mga viewers, Orion, kung bakit importante na nagkaroon ng sariling autonomous government ang Bangsamoro region sa Mindanao. It's been a while, diba? Centuries siguro tong oppression against our Muslim brothers in Mindanao, Orion, even during the time pa of the Spanish, when they arrived in the Philippines, they've always tried to conquer that part of our archipelago. To no avail of, obviously, because our Muslim brothers are very tough. But it's always been a constant struggle over the centuries, and up to now, it's become like part of their cultural heritage to actually claim their right to exist as part of a larger community of and a larger in terms of nation building. It's very important they distinguish themselves among Filipinos, but not ultimately separating from us. So kaya nagkaroon tayo ng mga concessions along the way.
Actually, the creation of the Bangsamoro region is very much consistent with what Rizal was always talking about before, because he already
Okay.
said long ago, Rizal was already saying, as an archipelagic nation composed of so many different ethno-linguistic groups,
Yes.
particularly groups that have a different religion from the majority, the mainstream majority, there is a need to have a system of administration, or a structure of administration that allows the different contexts to be understood, so that parang iba, hindi natin pwedeng i-broad brush strokes, or yung tawag diyan yung one size fits all. Hindi pwede talaga
Mm.
yan, kasi ano yung nangyayari dito sa isang lugar hindi naman pareho dun sa nangyayari sa ibang lugar. Ang nangyayari sa itong particular group na ito hindi naman parehong nag-apply sa iba. So little things like that, it just makes more sense to have federalism. And Rizal talked about that in Filipinas dentro de 100 años. And
Mm.
I mean, that he was already saying it would be better. It would, most likely, logically speaking, it would, the Philippines ought to turn itself into a federal republic, because of the nature of the Philippines being archipelagic and multicultural, multi-ethnic, and even multi-religious to an extent. No? So it just makes more sense that way, rather than parang mag one size fits all tayo, lahat tayo dapat ganito tapos nagkaroon ng resentment. Kung ayaw nyong respetuhin yung context na unique sa case namin, which is actually not only in their case, kasi iba-iba rin pati Cordillera meron din silang mga unique cases. Kalas na lang kami, parang yun ang nangyayari. And but actually, once you decide na let's understand, let's accommodate these differences, these different contexts, and then actually they decide they prefer to be part of the Philippines. And in fact, they're doing a good job as in the way they manage their affairs. So nakikita natin, for example, transparency wise, the Bangsamoro region actually has been very, yung kanilang yung accounting of yung disbursed funds, nakaano talaga. Well, para bang kumbaga walang mga missing funds Mga ganun nangyari. Kasi naka-parliamentary system sila No, parliamentary system sila, marami nakabantay. Secondly, the governance, they have this yung so-called moral governance based on obviously fear of God. So they're God-fearing. As Muslims, they're God-fearing, and therefore they believe that God is watching every move. So meron silang ganong yung nakabantay na yung mga tao, at alam din nila na nakabantay ang Diyos sa lahat ng kanilang mga kilos. So magandang lumalabas sa Bangsamoro region in terms of transparency, in terms of COVID recovery rates. They have some of the highest, if not the highest, COVID recovery rate in among the regions. Then there is I think in Mindanao, they were, I think, second in terms of economic development among all regions in Mindanao. And there are so many other indices where kumbaga parang top sila. And all that needed to happen was magkaroon ng ganyang klaseng parang quasi-federalism, na magkaroon ng autonomy ang Bangsamoro region para yung kanilang konteksto ay they can administer it in the unique way that fits their situations. So, ganun. Ngayon, ang kulang na lang talaga, and Professor Eddie Ali totally agrees with me na kulang na lang talaga yung i-allow na natin yung mga foreign direct investors na pumasok sa Pilipinas. Kasi, ang nangyayari, ang Bangsamoro region, being a Muslim majority region, ang daming mga Muslim countries na may mga rich businessmen, rich investors, rich companies na gustong tumulong. Initially out of yung pagtutulong nila sa kapwa nilang Muslim. And secondly also dahil, business is win-win. So if we make money, the people who are working for us, the community actually gains. No? And they're willing to pour in money and all that. Problema, 1987 Constitution, ang daming 60-40, ang daming mga restrictions, kaya nahihirapang pumasok ang maraming mga investors. So, pag tinanggal natin ang mga restrictions na yan, or at least man lang pinaluwag natin yung mga yan, or na-ease natin ang mga restrictions na yan, dadami talaga, dagsaan ang maraming mga investors from all around the world, and most especially among the companies coming from Islamic countries that are willing to help their fellow Muslims. Papasok yan sa Bangsamoro region. Who knows? They can become a very, very rich region, and they will become a shining beacon to the rest of the Philippines about the advantages of federalism.
Exactly.
Diba?
Tama
Ganun
yan,
ang mangyayari.
tama yan, Orion, kasi one of the conversations I had with yun si Professor Ali at the time that we were still working together sa DILG. Na-mention yung naging part of the conversation yung yun na nga yung tinatawag nating Bangsamoro experiment, kasi kahit papaano this is something really different, no, because they used a parliamentary system as a model for their government. And that's why I just wanted to stress, no, this for our viewers, bakit ba importante na mapag-usapan ng Bangsamoro kahit na wala naman kayong kinalaman doon. First of all, the peace and order in Mindanao is very critical to nation building. Very important so we can move forward and progress as a nation. So if there's peace and order in Mindanao, which is talaga ng ano naman, Orion, no, sa Mindanao, tawag nito, it's mineral rich area sa Pilipinas. Sobrang grabe ang natural resources talaga sa Mindanao.
Yes.
And we have yet to really exploit that or really take advantage of that fact because of yung internal strife na nangyayari within that region. And the good thing about that is finally it's come to an agreement, and then we were able to fix that through BOL na na-approve sa panahon ni Presidente Duterte, at ngayon tinatry nilang i-extend ngayon yung kanilang transition government kasi hindi enough time, di ba? Kasi hindi want to go beyond 2020. Na COVID, exactly.
Na COVID tayo eh. So it just makes sense also. Kasi nga, I mean, who was thinking na magkakaroon ng COVID? Eh nung nagkaroon ng COVID, ang daming bumagal sa mga kailangan mangyari. And it just makes sense, no? I mean, ganun naman talaga. So, kailangan talaga ma-convince.
Para lang ma-explain natin sa mga viewers natin, bakit ba importante na nagkaroon ng agreement? Kasi alam mo, before ng agreement, talagang very volatile sa Mindanao. As you can see, nagkaroon ng Marawi pa nga sa panahon ni Presidente Duterte. We don't want that to happen anymore in Mindanao. We want peace and order. And the formula of the president is very simple. Even when he was still mayor in Davao City, as long as you establish peace and order in your area, investments will come in. And that's exactly what's been happening now in Mindanao. And one thing siguro, Orion, na talagang dapat i-stress natin sa ating mga viewers kasi baka naman maisip nila, ano ba kinalaman ko dyan? Kasi alam nyo, pag naging successful ang Bangsamoro government, baka ito na yung magiging parang test case na pwede nating i-prove sa lahat ng ating mga mambabatas. Tingnan mo, parliamentary system, ang ganda ng patakbo ng Bangsamoro government. So I think it's about time we can alam mo, everything is about proof eh. What's your proof of concept? Bangsamoro. Diba?
Yes.
Diba,
I mean, to be honest, I mean, there's already a lot of proof around the world, no? I mean, we just look at our other neighboring countries, no? Yung mga kunyari Singapore and Malaysia, that they are open to foreign investors. They are parliamentary. In the case of Malaysia, because it is huge, and it consists of different areas and even different ethnicities. Naka-federalism sila. So it just makes sense na we look at these other examples. And then another example of yung tipong conflict pero naayos dahil nagkaroon ng accommodation na was in Northern Ireland, for example. So you had the IRA doing all these bombings and all that kasi resentful sila, dahil sa maraming yung mga pinagbabawal sa kanilang cultural expression and all that. And in the end, when there was the Good Friday Agreement, immediately the IRA, the Sinn Féin people, they immediately worked together with yung dati nilang mga kalaban. And there were these Martin McGuinness and Ian Paisley. So Ian Paisley was Protestant. He was the leader of this Democratic Unionist Party. And then you had Martin McGuinness, who was an IRA, terrorist siya. He was a terrorist, and he was one of the top leaders of Sinn Féin. And then they Olive Branch, and then they became parang best friends nung kanyang yung dating kalaban niya. Naging best friends sila, as in they were known in public as the Chuckle Brothers kasi they were always parang cracking jokes with each other. They parang ang ganda ng pagpapatakbo nung sa Northern Ireland dahil nagkaroon sila ng parang joint government na So, yung ganon, this kind of thing, it's proven that it works. It's proven the similar thing happened also in South Africa when apartheid was ended, and we all know what happened. So nag-dismantle na yung apartheid regime, and then nawala na yung gulo, nawala rin yung mga terroristic kasi syempre may mga terroristic bombings din nangyayari dati. So, all these kinds of things. And I really have I have high hopes for the Bangsamoro region because number one, they as a region, so they are a Muslim majority, and therefore they have a tendency to look at other countries in the region that are also Muslim countries. And that's where you have Malaysia and Indonesia. Countries that are open to foreign direct investors. Countries that do not have foreign investment restrictions in the constitution. In the case of Malaysia, it is also parliamentary and federal. And kumbaga parang ito nga si Moaker Iqbal, who is now the Minister of Education, in the BARM, he was the chief negotiator before of the MILF side, no. Now he is the Minister of Education, and immediately yung kanyang thrust sa education is we will learn as much as we can from all our neighbors who are doing well. Parang we will parang parang yung Singapore style at saka Malaysia style o ano yung ginagawa ng ibang bansa na ito, top sila sa math. Bakit? Pag-aralan natin, gayahin natin. So, parang believe ako dun sa ganyang klaseng nila, yung attitude na maging bukas tayo to learn from other countries that are doing a good job. And I mean, by default, syempre, nakikita nila maganda yung lumalabas dun sa Indonesia at saka sa Malaysia, which are fellow Muslim countries. Parang, sige, tignan natin, they're doing well, let's do what they're doing well. Diba? So, nawala yata ang kasama natin. So, there are little things like that. There are these, ayan si Ron, nakabalik na. Naputol yata kayo.
I had to, sorry Orion, I had to reset the stream kasi marami tayong mga messages coming in, and the only messages I'm reading, I can see from my page here are the first few ones. Parang hindi siya nag-update, so I had to reset.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Ayan, so Ryan, as you were saying, ito nga, meron nga tayong mga messages dito na you'll probably find interesting coming from Mark Mingoa. Sabi niya dito, watching from Barcelona, Spain, federal parliamentary system of government makes perfect sense for our country. And
yes,
I believe Spain themselves they have a sort of like a type of government
quasi-federal
form of government.
And he's in Barcelona, which is one of the areas where federalism was really highly espoused in Spain. So it's one of the epicenters of the federalist movement in Spain is in Catalonia or Barcelona. So it's really talaga parang you had all these people who were si P.E. Margal, for example. He was really pushing for for federalism, and he became a friend of Rizal. So he was a friend of Rizal. He was at that point in time when Rizal was there in the 1880s. So estudyante si Rizal, and nag-base sa Madrid si P. Margal, and he was at that point in time parang nag-semi-retire siya. Parang nag-hiatus siya. and he was doing literary stuff, no, writing and all that. So yeah, madalas sila nagsasama, nagche-chess sila, naglalaro. So ganon, magkaibigan sila. Kaya nga si Rizal was very much pro-federalism dahil kaibigan niya si Pierre Margal. So PI tapos Y as in end, P E Margal. So yun yung pangalan niya, no?
Alam mo, Orion, no?
Francisco.
I don't mean to digress, pero ang galing ng memory mo, no? Naalala mo yung mga pangalan eh. Solid yung stored knowledge on historical figures. Talagang nabibilib talaga sa'yo pag naalala mo yung mga ganyang bagay at na-share mo sa atin. Which is very good kasi yung ating conversations become very educational rin for a lot of people who are not very familiar with history, especially history that that is relevant to the times and what we're going through. As they say nga, Orion, diba? History tends to repeat itself. And so far, we've been going through the same struggles now as we did before because we haven't really done anything that is profound in terms of, changes and reforms. So, good thing na up to now, we have people like you who are talking about the same things our forefathers have been talking about centuries ago.
Dapat matagal na itong ginawa no?
Diba? Dapat matagal na talaga eh. Tingnan mo, sabi ni Jonathan Baul, si Presidente na wala na yung federalism parliament system na sinusulong niya. Parang kinain na ng sistema si Presidente, sayang. Hindi naman siguro, Jonathan, kaso lang napaka-complicated kasi ng proseso, no?
Ang nangyari, sa dami ng mga asungot na kontra ng kontra, parang naisip niya, okay, kung baka kasi I'm thinking that President Duterte felt that kung isusulong niya tapos ang daming kontra na kontra, hindi niya masusulong yung ibang kailangan pa niyang isulong. So yung other infrastructure projects, mauubos yung oras na nakastuck tayo dito kasi yung parang ito gusto natin tapos itong mga ito na talagang ignorante, kontra lang ng kontra sa hindi nila alam na actually nakakabuti ng pala to sa kanila. So, yung sayang.
Yung takeaway mo rin dito sa mga nangyayari kaya nahirapan si Presidente dahil unang-una salungat sa mga pinagsasabi ng opposition, hindi kasi talaga siya diktador. Kasi kung diktador siya, ay nako, matagal na tayong federal form of government.
Binuldoze na diba? Niya. He would have forced it.
He wanted
Lee Kuan Yew.
Oo.
Lee Kuan Yew was saying that if there's something that needs to be done and there are mga magkukontra, I'm gonna bulldoze my way through it. Ganyan siya. Sabi niya, I'll just do it kasi this is, especially during that time in Singapore na ang daming mga taong hindi naman ganun ka-edukado. Parang sa kanila, sabi niya, I'll just bulldoze it because after all, pag natapos na yung programang ito, lahat ng mga mangmang, makikita nila, ay maganda pala to. Tapos mag-a-agree rin naman pala sila. So, yun. Yun ang
pero hindi, ayaw ni Presidente gawin yun eh.
Ayaw niya na ganyan. Okay.
Kahit na nga yung sobrang simpleng bagay like emergency powers para mapabilis yung problema natin sa EDSA, ay nawalan siya ng gana dahil nga si Senador Grace Poe ayaw magbigay ng emergency powers. So sabi ni Presidente, kung ayaw nyo we'll just do it the long way. Mapapabilis sana yun, kaso yun, it took more than a couple of years even if we had the chance to do it within that year nung ni-request yung emergency powers. So that only goes to show, and it should stick in the minds of these pawokes in mga opposition na si Presidente, kung diktador yan, ay nako, hindi na kayo tatanungin. Hindi na siya mag-aantay ng consensus or antayin ng mga tao na magsabi sa kanya, sige sir, gusto namin yan. Kasi kung diktador siya, ay wala siyang pakailam. Sabihin na lang niya, Kongreso yari kayo sa akin. Baguhin niya ang konstitusyon. Tapos, ang problema natin, Orion, hindi na tayo sana may problema.
Exactly. I wanted to add, so I actually wrote I wrote something on my as a comment about why I feel that the Bangsamoro region actually is very much poised to really zoom up, lalo na kapag nawala yung mga foreign direct investment restrictions, no? Kasi sa Islam kasi hindi sila naniniwala na profit is evil. So wala silang ganoon kasi the prophet of Islam, peace be unto him, si Prophet Muhammad, peace be unto him, he was a businessman himself. He was a businessman. He was a merchant, no? So he had mga caravan, ganyan, trading. So parang tawag nito, natural yung bibili mo sa mas mura, tapos dahil nga syempre payment din yun, parang compensation mo dahil kinuha mo yung binili mo sa malayong lugar, dinala mo sa isang lugar yung isang bagay, syempre papatungan mo rin. So yung profit is not bad. That's part of business. So naiintindihan sa tradisyon ng Islam, hindi considered masama ang profit, no? In fact, sa Christianity rin naman hindi naman siya bawal eh. Kasi nga parable of the talents din naman sa atin, meron tayong gano'n, no, na bakit yung si Jesus basically he said, para bang bibigyan kita ng pera, o yan, palakihin nyo. Tapos may isa, one guy, just yung pera, inano niya, tinago niya lang, tapos walang nangyari, it just stayed as is. Yung iba, ininvest nila, they did something, it multiplied. So he rewarded those na nagmultiply. So profit is not evil. The problem is that in Western Christianity, in Catholicism, there are some influences coming from Neoplatonism that seeped into Catholic doctrine, or para may influence ng Neoplatonism dahil kay Saint Augustine. And Saint Augustine kasi he used to be a Neoplatonist before he became a Christian. He was a Neoplatonist. And Platonism basically holds that the material world is evil. Flesh is evil. Material world is evil. Profit, yung parang may pagkaganon, profit is bad. Yung mga ganon-ganon eh, yung may ganong klaseng, there are these sensations within Western Christianity that are like that, no? So that's why when Max Weber wrote his the Protestant Ethic, ganyan, para bang sinasabi niya na yung mga Calvinist na protestante naging magaling sa business kasi pro-protest sila sa doktrina ng Catholicism. So they had this different worldview where hindi naman masama yung business, ganon. So kaya sila umangat. Kaya nga parang lumalabas yung mga Calvinist countries or many Protestant countries tended to be how do you say this, more progressive economically than traditionally Catholic countries. Yun yung nangyari, right, no? So because partly Catholicism was parang burdened by the influence of Neoplatonism, na parang it gives this impression na to be poor is good, profit is bad, ganon.
Is it okay to then, Orion, to surmise na from what you just said, no, na is that one of the reasons why most Catholics are fatalist in terms of point of view? Parang everything, pag narinig mo mga paminsan kasi, narinig ko to over the decades, no, at a certain point you'll hear a Catholic say, bahala na ang Diyos. 'Di ba? Hindi sila, if you were progressive, you would actually take your the future, your future is supposed to be in your hands and you're gonna push for success. But some of our pag mahirap yung kalagayan, nasa position ng poverty, either in deep poverty, ang first thing na sasabihin, and even ang sad dyan, actually papunta na ako dun sa topic mo, isa sa gusto natin pag-usapan, yung mga obispo, yung ating mga nasa Catholic hierarchy, parang sa kanila, alam mo, mahal lang ng Diyos ang mga mahihirap. So ibig sabihin parang okay lang maging mahirap.
Oo, ganun ang nangyayari. Now in Islam, by the way, they teach that you have to help the poor, so that it's really, it's part of the obligation of a Muslim to help the less fortunate. So yung meron sila yung zakat, which is charity, or yung tumutulong sa kapwa, no? So that's part of their religion. Pero hindi sila naniniwala na mas magandang maging poor ka. No, I mean, by all means, parang kumbaga, God created the world and this world is good. It's not that you, para bang, get it over with, mamatay na tayo. Parang, kasi some people, among Catholics, parang we have this idea that this world is not good enough. The better world is the one awaiting. So,
Yeah.
parang wala na, no need to do anything. We'll just parang avoid doing anything that might be bad, and then pag namatay na tayo, yun na yun talaga yun. But
Hindi parang pa nga Orion they sort of like romanticize suffering. Na
yes.
Okay lang yan na nahihirapan ka,
Oo.
mahirap ka.
And I was going to say that also, no, na part of the problem is because when we compare some of the different Christian traditions, no, Catholicism versus say the Eastern Orthodox and also the Protestant, the Eastern Orthodox, yung kanilang emphasis is on the resurrection, whereas the Catholics is on the passion, the suffering of Christ. So when the Protestant Reformation happened, they decided to align with the doctrine of the Eastern Orthodox, which is the resurrection is more important than the so triumph over death, parang ganon. Whereas sa atin is suffering mas maganda yung ng suffering. So yun yung parang na-stuck tayo dun sa ganon na yung suffering is good, parang ganon na, and in a way it's a problem.
It shows, and actually it's manifested itself, no, over administrations, dahil, like for example, this is a very significant thing, Orion. I know you get frustrated sometimes when we talk about changes that are needed, lalong-lalo na when it comes to the Constitution, the 1987 Constitution being irrelevant now these days, no? At bakit ang mindset ng mga mambabatas natin, kasi they hold the power, they have the key. Sila yung pwede talagang nasa kanila, nakasalalay sa kanila na maging up to date yung ating Constitution to the times. Pero ayaw nilang gawin. At dahil nga yung mindset nila is, hindi naman natin kailangan yun ngayon. Okay naman tayo ngayon. Diba?
And this is one of the things we talked about last night with Professor Eddie Ali. No? Nasabi nga namin na, kasi isa sa mga tanong dun sa group discussion ng DILG was, ano yung sagot ninyo sa sinasabi ng ibang tao na now is not the time because it is COVID. Tapos sinabi ko, and nag-concur si Professor Ed, na talaga, you cannot say that because ang sinabi ko was, this COVID crisis is not just a health crisis. More importantly, it is also an economic crisis. Because dahil sa COVID, ang daming nagsara na mga restaurant, na mga hotel, na mga kumpanya, whatever, nagsara. So nawalan ng trabaho ang maraming tao. Pag nawalan ng trabaho ang maraming tao, sila ngayon kailangan ng tulong. At the same time, yung mga taong dating nagtatrabaho na hindi na nagtatrabaho ngayon, hindi na nakakabayad ng buwis. Yung mga pang-ayuda ng gobyerno sa ibang tao, saan nagagaling yan? Sa buwis. Ang pambili ng mga COVID vaccine, ang pangbayad sa mga frontliners, 'di ba? Kailangan natin extra staff. Kailangan ng pera pambayad sa mga nurse, pambayad din sa mga sundalo or sa mga ibang tao na nagmaman sa mga checkpoints, ganun. Where do you get that money? Tax, 'di ba? And because nag-lessen yung number of companies, the number of taxpayers has lessened, nag-lessen din ang tax revenue. So ngayon may problema ang pera ng bayan, ang kaban ng bayan, dahil kumonti bigla ang pondo na pwede sanang gamitin para pambili ng mga COVID vaccine, pambayad sa mga frontliners, etc., yung mga pang-ayuda, yung mga all these other things that are necessary. So obviously, economic recovery, job creation is part and parcel of the solution that we need for this COVID crisis. And therefore, maling-mali, bobo talaga ang lahat ng sino man nagsasabi na hindi pwedeng gawin natin yung reforma to kasi COVID. Ulol! Part ito ng solusyon. Pag walang pera, pag walang trabaho, ang daming nakahingi ng ayuda. Pag yung mga taong yan na humihingi ng ayuda nagkatrabaho, hindi na yan maghihingi ng ayuda. Kasi may sweldo na sila. At kapag bumili sila, pag may pera sila, may sweldo sila, may tax silang binabayad. Yung tax na yan, income tax na binabayad nila, pumupunta rin yan sa gobyerno para makatulong sa ibang taong walang trabaho at para din sa mga senior citizen na wala na, syempre, retired na, all that stuff. So obviously, kasama ito sa solusyon. Hindi lang yung kailangan natin ng injection, kailangan din ng mga trabaho para sa mga tao. Saan manggagaling ng mga trabaho? Foreign investors.
Alam mo, Orion, dapat rin mapansin ng mga tao, no? Itong mga taong nagsasalita against RBH2, for example, kasi RBH2 ngayon yung pinapaglaban natin. Ayaw nila i-reforma yung magkaroon ng amendment sa Constitution. Ito makikita mo yung short-sightedness at saka kakulangan ng understanding kung how government works. Government can only function through taxes, through revenue. And how can you generate revenue if you don't have enough businesses powering through our economy? So, yung sabi mo nga, Orion, na-mention mo, napaka-importante dyan, very key component ng ating economy to rise up is job creation. Kasi if you have jobs, obviously you will have income to spend. Spending is very important for an economy to thrive. So kung kulang yung tao ng pera, hindi sila gagasto, sa bahay lang sila, walang bibili ng mga ginagawa ng mga kumpanya na nag-i-employ ng mga tao rin na pwedeng bumili rin ng mga kagamitan. So, may chain reaction yun.
Exactly.
Diba?
Sabi nga ni Lee Kuan Yew, according to Lee Kuan Yew, so, without an economy, nothing works. Yun yung sabi niya. Sinabi niya, what did we do? We had to focus on manufacturing, we had to create jobs, we had to bring in multinational companies. So they created jobs, and when they created jobs, they paid salaries, and that became part of the revenue of government because they paid taxes. With that revenue of the government, we were able to build public housing, homes, schools, hospitals, roads, etc., etc. And we progressed, sabi niya ganun. But without an economy, nothing works. So parang yun yung pinaka-basis. Ako, as a project manager and also before ITSM certified service manager ako, I had this, parang part of the training namin sa ITSM is whenever itatanong sa inyo ng kliyente na you need to add a feature, ang unang tanong nyo, may funding ba ito? Saan magagaling yung funds niyan? Ganun. So agad-agad yung tanong, gusto nyong i-add yung feature na to. O, nasan yung funding? May funding ba yan? Saan magagaling yung pambayad para din sa mga extra-extra na yan? Ganun. Kailangan yung tinitrain ka na magtanong ng ganyan. So, ganun ganun din sa Singapore, yung training nila na everything that anytime na may request, may tanong dapat na counter question. Saan ang pera para dyan? Yun dapat, di ba?
Tama. At saka, alam mo, Orion, maganda nga na yung nagiging mas yung ating conversation, no, nagiging mas malalim yung pag-uusap tungkol sa constitutional reform kasi marami na rin sa mga viewers natin nagtatanong at mukhang interesado sila kasi kagaya nitong si John David. Ang question niya is there a chance daw that RBH2 will be passed in the Senate because it's getting more unlikely day by day? Kasi ang Kongreso, nalagpasan na natin. Naipasa na nila yung resolusyon. Okay na sila. Ngayon, nasa Senado na yung bola. Sa tingin mo ba daw, meron tayong tsansa sa Senado? Orion, ang tingin mo?
May tsansa tayo kung, unfortunately, we lost a great warrior for pushing this, basically he was really great when it came to the late Secretary Gary Olivar. No?
Yes.
He basically every time he would talk in the hearings, no, he would be able to preempt anything that yung mga sinasabi ng mga leftists na talaga lumalabas talaga yung talking points nila, natabunan na sila, natakpan na sila. Tapos kapag nagsalita pa sila, magre-rebut talaga yan, magre-raise ng hand yan, magre-rebut yan. By the way, yung sinabi ni Mr. Ganito, actually po, mali po yan, ano, sa economics kasi may ganito kami, ganito. Sa law of supply and demand, meron siya, magle-lesson siya, tapos lalabas talaga yung pagiging tanga ng sino mang bobong komunistang yon. Talagang
From Ibon
lalabas
Foundation.
na wala. Yung mga Ipot Foundation, talagang makikita ng mga tao na wala talagang alam sa finance, walang alam sa economics.
Economics.
Wala talaga. Accounting, mga simpleng bagay, walang kaalam-alam. Yan ang mga komunista. Yan ang mga makabayad black na yan. Walang alam. Zero. Bobo. Tanga. Walang alam about economics. Walang alam about pera. Wala. Akala lang ng mga engot na yan na mag-print ka lang ng pera, okay na yan. Okay na yan. Hindi nila alam na pag-i-inflation pala yan. Akala ng mga yan na mina-magic lang ang pera. Hindi nila alam that you have to earn money. You need an economy, a vibrant economy to earn money. Wala, hindi nila alam yan. Ganyan
Ako,
sila
Ryan,
katanga.
Huwag mo nang kalimutan din yung dating obispo ng Maynila na
Ay,
kumukontra
oo. Nako.
sa mga ganyang pagbabago. Buti nga na
Nako.
na-exile na sa
Ayan, na-destiero na
Na-destiero.
si Mr. Broderick Pabilio. Hindi ko tinatawag na bishop yung taong yan. Mister lang yan sa akin. Mister. Wala talaga zero ang
respeto mo.
reconocimiento ko, respeto at pagre-recognize ko sa anumang posisyon niya. Wala, hindi. Ordinaryong tao yan. Mister lang yan. Mister lang yan. Hindi yan obispo. Hindi yan pare. Para sa akin, wala yan. Zero yan. Yang taong yan, tinapon ng Batikano dyan sa Taytay. Hindi sa Rizal, ha? Sa Taytay, Palawan. Ang layo lang, 4 hours from, parang 4-hour ride from ano yata yan, from Puerto Princesa. Tinapon siya doon dahil nakita, siguro sinumbong na yata ni Secretary Locsin sa Papal Nuncio yata, no, ng Vaticano, na itong si Pabilio ay puro na lang mga wrong information ang kinakalat, kontra ng kontra sa anumang reforma na sana'y makakatulong sa mga mahihirap. Federalism, yun sana'y para lumaganap, umunlad ang mga regions, magyumaman ang mga regions. But ayaw niya. Ang mga reforms like mga pagtatanggal ng 60-40, yun sana ang magpaparami ng mga trabaho. Kontra siya ng kontra. So little things like that. Ayan. Na-destiero ngayon, tinapon, banished, exiled. Ayan. Sige. I'm pretty sure sinasabi yata sa kanya ng Vaticano, mas maganda sir, ka na lang, mag-resign ka na lang. At kung gusto mo, mag-run for for congressman diyan sa lugar na 'yan. Para sikat ka dati kang obispo eh. So, diyan ka na lang mag-run. So, pasok ka na lang sa politika. Huwag ka na lang magkunwaring bishop ka. Hindi ka naman bishop eh.
Grabe, no? Meron pa rin tayo sa panahon ngayon, 2021. Akala mo, 1821, nakikialam pa rin yung ang Catholic Church sa mga affairs ng gobyerno.
Kaya nga eh.
May mga ganun pala pa rin sa simbahan na nakikialam na dapat wala na nga silang mini-mention or sinasabing ganyan. Pero alam mo, palusot nila dyan, Orion, dapat daw talaga ma-involve ang church sa affairs ng kanilang mga followers ng flock. Kasi 'di ba part of yung nangyayari sa gobyerno ay dapat maging aktibo pa rin ang church to sort of like bring them to light or to be the beacon daw in these dark times. So mga ganung klase mga banat.
Wala talagang kwenta yung taong 'yan.
Wala.
Basta ako, I think that the Bangsamoro region has a really bright future as long as matuloy na natin yung pagpapatanggal or at least man lang mapapaluwag natin yung mga restrictions na yan para dumami ang mga foreign investors. Kasi ito yung gusto kong sabihin sa mga senador eh. Bakit ba ninyo gusto na pagbawalan yung pagpasok ng mga investors sa buong bansa? Kung may mga region na gusto, katulad ng Bangsamoro region, gusto nilang may pumasok na mga investor dun sa lugar nila. Lalo na ang daming mga kapwa Muslim nila na mga negosyante galing sa Gulf region, galing sa Turkey, na fellow Muslim countries, sa mga ibang mga bansang Muslim majority na gustong mag-invest sa Pilipinas para tulungan ang kanilang kapwa Muslim na na co-religionists. And then here you are, linalagyan niyo ng force field ang buong Pilipinas kasama ang BARM dyan. So ang BARM, kahit gusto nilang pumasok, ang mga investors, hindi makakapasok kasi part sila ng Pilipinas. Di ba? Why not remove it na lang, remove it entirely, tapos sabihin na lang natin, mag-federalize na lang tayo, tapos yung mga regions ang sabihan, kayo mga region, kung ayaw nyong pumasok ang foreign investor, bahala kayo, maglagay kayo ng restrictions dyan sa lugar nyo. Tapos yung mga gusto, like BARM, gusto nila ng investors, Region 7 from Cebu, gusto namin ng foreign investors. Kasi wala naman kami masyadong natural resources sa lugar namin eh. The island of Cebu is relatively infertile. No, punta ka sa bundok, coral eh. Coral yung rock namin eh, yung mga wala kami talaga lupa na yung fertile land. It's basically coral. Pag nagdig ka, makikita mo mga shells and corals in the mountains. So it's not really conducive for agriculture. Wala masyado siya sa mga ganyang klaseng resources, So we rely on trade, we rely on investors. But without allowing the investors to come into the Philippines, hirap silang pumasok pati sa Cebu. So ganun na lang, parang tanggalin na lang natin. Let the regions decide, and I think that's how we should talk to the senators. I mean, why do you guys want to prevent them from coming in, di ba?
And I understand, Orion, after your talks with Professor Ali, who is part of the BARM now, the Parliament ng BARM, na kailangan talaga na pumasok yung investments, i-lift yung restrictions kasi ang BARM is very dependent on the national government to give them the budget. And the budget can't be enough if we didn't have more investments coming in. And
yes.
This is what we're talking about, the chain reaction that people should see, and our lawmakers, especially the Senate, should appreciate or realize that this is not about the hidden agenda of some of the congressmen or our local officials. That's why they want to change the constitution. We just want to change the constitution because primarily the most important thing that needs to be changed is the economic provisions.
Indeed.
Hindi na talaga natin dapat pinapakinggan yung kaliwa. Hindi ko nga alam kung bakit pa kinukonsider sila. Kinalimutan na nga sila ng Congress kasi 'di ba harang sila ng harang sa RBH2 at walang nangyari.
They lost the vote anyway. So sorry guys.
Sorry, sa Senate na lang. Senate na lang.
Now in the Senate. So someone was asking, John David was asking, would you be a resource speaker? I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, perhaps part of the reason why I was invited for this group discussion with Professor Eddie Ali is that he will most likely be a resource person. I will also probably be a resource person, and so several other people who were invited by DILG might be used as resource persons. So basically, DILG, the Department of Interior and Local Government, has set up these discussions, and then they record the contents, basically the transcript of what's going on, and they take our ideas and our insights and use it as part of a document, like a frequently asked questions. If you say this, what do you say as a rebuttal or a response? And then they will use that as a resource, and they will call upon us as, if we're going to discuss this, okay, let's call Professor Ed Ali and Orion to come on to talk about this topic from the point of view of a Filipino Muslim, the point of view of the Bangsamoro member of parliament, and let's get Orion for the OFW point of view as well, an internationally based
that would be good.
Filipino overseas. So it's something like that, So I think I hope that's where it's going to. I mean, unfortunately, I wouldn't need to be there if the late Sec Gary wasn't late. If he was still with us, diba? But unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And now that he's not going to be able to be there, then at least I'm hoping that I can attempt to fill in his shoes. So
and the champions we need talaga we need somebody who is passionate who, when they speak, talagang they know what they're talking about. At the same time, they really understand the issues behind as to why we want to change the constitution. Yung ano nga, Orion, no? I wanted to ask you the status of the committee that handles constitutional amendments. Isn't it your best friend, si Senator Kiko Pangilinan, handling that? So the question is he still in charge of constitutional amendments in the Senate? Does he still
I don't know. I think he still is. I
the-
think he
the
still is,
chairmanship?
but I don't know. Maybe he is, but I mean, I think he has also no choice because there's a number of senators who are actually for RBH2. So you have I mean, Senator Bongo himself is part of that. Senator Bato himself is part of that. Senator
Tolentino.
Tolentino is part of that, and there's several others also who are very much for this reform. So if I were to be a resource person, I will also bring up the fact that several people from the opposition who've been opposing federalism and all these other reforms come from parties which include as part of their platform federalism or even economic liberalization or parliamentary system as part of it. Not Anakbayan. Akbayan itself has as part of its platform federal parliamentary system. Liberal Party has part of its platform the economic liberalization. It was founded in the 1940s as a split away group faction from the Nacionalista Party, because the Nacionalista Party was generally more oligarchic, old-style traditionalist, whereas the younger, open-minded, liberal, younger group, they became the Liberal Party, and they wanted more foreign investors. They wanted more liberal, open systems such as parliamentary system and all that. So, I can bring that up and say, why are you guys going against what your parties were founded for? Why are you? And then several of you in 2008, you actually were for federalism. There is one guy here who is against constitutional reforms, says it's ugly, says federalism is ugly, is what he said. And he was very much championing economic liberalization back in the day. Why is he suddenly against constitutional reform? Something is wrong. So
easy explanation there, Orion. The only reason I can think of why people who used to support it is now against such reforms is because the one who is espousing it or the one pushing for it is their political enemy, and that being the president. Diba?
That's where I'm going to I'm going to explain to them that you people talk like this, that you do this. It shows you were never truly committed to your own party platform, because in true statesmanship, if your opponent is also pushing for the same thing that you are pushing for, you will work together to attain that goal that you share in common. If your opponent is pushing for something that you have been pushing for, then you will not oppose it. So actually, Paul Paano was asking, will you please sneak in the two other agendas? Of course I will. Yes, of course I will. I'm going to explain that we needed all of these to be put in place, but you guys kept on blocking them, and now we're only left with this. And then you're still probably going to block this again. Stop this, please. We cannot afford to be left behind. We've already been left behind by Vietnam, and soon enough we will be left behind by Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar, if that's what you guys want.
We should make sure we should be very, very. The next few weeks or so is going to be very important for this this move in the Senate, Orion. The discussions that's going to happen as the Senate will resume. The Congress will resume, I think, end of July or middle of July. Wait, no, hang on. Kasi malapit na magbubukas na uli ang Senado at saka Congress. Mag-prepare na sila for the SONA of the President. And one of the things that they're trying to do is that they're hoping that they can insert a line about constitutional reform in the last SONA of the President. I'm not sure if it's gonna happen because obviously the main topic will be about COVID, about the recovery, economic recovery for the Philippines and how we should, as a nation, band together. But I'm hoping, Orion, that that's going to be part of the conversation come SONA. And as the Senate resumes their sessions, as soon as possible, I'm hoping that they're gonna tackle the topic on
I hope so too.
constitutional
I hope so
reform.
I hope so too. Oh, I see here. Minimum was saying they might evade you and not invite you anymore, Ryan. Well, no, I'm going to be very nice actually. When I basically, of course, right now it's just a parang ilabas natin, just get it out of your system kind of thing. But when I'm going to be there, I'm going to be nice towards them. I'm going to basically say, some of you come from parties that in fact have it enshrined in the party charter, in the party platform, that you want this, you want this, you want this. And I encourage you to go back to that and fight for it again, because that is what we need. We need to come together, stop this partisan, bickering and all that. Just because the other party is your enemy and they are pushing for something that you are pushing for, you don't want it to happen.
I can imagine what Orion's going to do. He's going to be very professional and very calm and diplomatic. And then at the end of his testimony, he's going to go, "Oust Kiko." Hashtag "Oust Kiko." Pwede ba? Catch them by surprise. Hashtag.
And if he doesn't make that happen, Oust Kiko! Oust Kiko! It's something strange.
Bay, grabe. Nag-pick up na ba ito, Bay? I'd like to thank our viewers before we say goodbye, Orion. We actually ran out of time. We were just supposed to do 30 minutes of this vlog, but
I say 30 minutes and then it becomes 1 hour. If I say 1 hour, it becomes 2 hours.
It's 1 hour. Sue Santos, thank you so much for engaging us. What would be the effect on anti-terrorism of General Parlades' resignation from NTF-LCAC as spokesperson? We'll probably have another chance to talk about that on our next vlog, Sue. But thank you for bringing that up. That's an interesting topic to talk about. Thank you to Cynthia Castren, who's enjoying our blog, Orion, because it's very informative daw. Where people are learning a lot and getting information that they haven't heard before about things that are happening behind the scenes. The only thing that you're seeing, kasi most viewers, most of the Filipinos, kasi the only thing that they know about government, Orion, are the things that they see on TV. But behind the scenes, there's so many things going on. Marami tayong mga kakampi dyan who are pro constitutional reform, are tirelessly working their butts off just to make this happen. Diba, Ryan? From the DILG down to the different IATF. In IATF, hindi yan exclusive sa COVID. Merong IATF for constitutional reform. Just so you know. So merong may pag-uusap na yan among agency people that they're pushing for these reforms. So don't worry. Please do support it. I think we should start emailing or sending messages, posting on your senators' Facebook pages and telling them, "Hoy, gumising kayo. Importante itong constitutional reform. Tanggalin na yung FDIs.
If you want to learn, make sure that you have as some of your resource persons, si Professor Ed Ali of the Bangsamoro Transitional Authority, and then si Orion Perez Dumdum na isang OFW na exposed sa maraming mga bansa. Kaya kung ano yung mga hindi natin alam about what's going on in the other countries, or how did other countries succeed in a very short amount of time, well, then we can get that from resources like them. So just mention to them, mention to all the senators. email nyo sila, tawagan nyo sila, puntahan nyo yung kanilang opisina, sabihan nyo sila, kailangan talaga isama nyo dito sa sa mga hearing nyo para sa RBH2. Yan, si Professor Ed Ali, si Orion Perez Dumdum, yan, mga ganyan. Sabihin nyo.
Approve. Tapos si Mario Alejandro, pasensya ka na Mario, no? I don't think we can discuss this now. Any thoughts about PRRD as VP? If ever po, ba manalo si PRRD as VP this election, paano kung may mangyari sa incumbent president at that time? Sino ang magti-take over? VP, Senate President? Good question kasi technically the president is not supposed to run for, for the presidency again. But this would appear to be sort of like something that would circumvent that law. If ever something happens to the president and our incumbent president right now, si President Duterte, was vice president at that time, what do you think, Orion? That
Well, that's why.
Interesting.
That's why this is a lousy system, because in other countries they allow their top executive to at least have one extra term if it's a presidential system, or at least in a parliamentary system, unlimited terms, as long as nandyan pa rin yung partido, yung partido in power, ano pa rin. O ngayon, ang tingnan nyo nangyari sa Israel, o si Benjamin Netanyahu, hindi na, 'di ba? Oh, he was prime minister for a long time. Oh, but at the end of the day, nagbago. Nagkaroon ng parang no confidence, nag-change yung coalition yung pagsasama-sama ng coalition, dumami yung kabilang side kasi dumami yung mga partido nila. So yung dating opposition, yun na ngayon yung naging government. So may bago na silang prime minister.
Dahil ba to Orion sa kanyang approach sa yung attack sa Palestine?
Sa Gaza, yeah. Partly
sa Gaza,
that, yes. Kasama yun. Yes.
Ill-advised. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right, so Orion will be back again next Friday for more of Constipation Friday. Sana po you will join us if we need more people to advocate for constitutional reform. Hindi pa po tapos yung laban. We have a year to go. Officially, yesterday or 2 days ago, Orion, we have 360 days to go until the end of this administration.
Indeed.
This is the time to really push hard and tell our senators
if anything,
to make
guys,
this happen.
ladies and gentlemen, kahit anong mangyari, ang importante dyan is we keep on spreading the word. Spread the word. Spread links, spread articles. Punta kayo sa correctphilippines.org na website. Hanap kayo ng mga articles dyan, ng mga papers. Spread. Just keep on sharing the information about why we need these reforms. Pag naging klaro na sa lahat ng mga tao na kailangan talaga mga reforma to, walang pipigil. Tapos yung mga pipigil sa mga reforma na lahat ng tao alam ay maganda yan, magmumukha talaga silang tanga. Right now, ang umiiral kasi ignoransya. Ang daming ignorante, ang daming mangmang. Kaya yung mga wrong info nakakalat pa rin. Pero kapag naging impormado na ang lahat na mas maganda talaga yung mga sistema nito, wala na. Ang mga kukontra, magmumukha talagang tanga. Mahihiya pa silang magsabi ng mga pagontra nila.
Alam mo, Ryan, siguro next week, next Friday, pag-usapan natin yung lineup na to, no? Kasi ito, binanggit ni JV ko, these are the senators that are likely not to support the RBH2. You have Lacson, Soto, Gordon, Ontiveros, Drilon, Gatchalian, Villanueva, Binay, De Lima, Recto, Zubiri. Is this like an accurate list? What do you think, Orion? Are these?
I'm not sure if it's accurate, but then that's the thing. So you have people like you have Recto, who was very much pro-constitutional, pretty much for removal of 60-40, tapos bigla na lang ngayon kukontra siya sa RBH2. Ano ba? Ano siya?
Okay.
Di ba?
Tamang-tama yun, Ryan. That's gonna be an interesting conversation next Friday para makita natin yung history of support or non-support nitong mga senators na to and what you think is the motivation behind the change of heart of some of the senators.
Yes. So,
diba?
may hiling ako sa lahat ng mga listeners natin ngayon. So, number 1, i-contact nyo lahat ng mga senador at lahat ng mga ibang mga politiko especially mga senador, na kailangan nandyan ako as a resource person, and also si Professor Eddie Ali from the Bangsamoro Transition Authority. And then also, mag-research kayo tungkol sa mga stand ng mga senator, yung mga dating yung mga ngayon nagsasabi sila ayaw nila ng federalism, tas tingnan ninyo na dati pala 2008 pro pala kayo ng federalism, ba't kayo kumukontra ngayon, di ba? O kunyari yan si Recto, dating gustong tanggalin yung 60-40, ngayon ayaw. O parang kumbaga, mga kababayan, maglistahin ninyo kailan ba sila tumiklop, kailan ba sila bumaliktad, at ano yung rason. So i-research ninyo para meron na tayong ammunition, may bala tayo para pag kunyari nandun na ako, pwede ko nang i-cite. Si Mr. ganito, bakit kayo dati pro pala kayo, part ito ng partido nyo, ng plataforma ninyo, Miss Ontiveros, ano nangyari? Part ka ng akbayan. Ang akbayan gusto ng federalism parliamentary. Ba't kayo kumukontra sa mga reformang yan? Ano yan? Kalokohan yan, di ba?
Tama-tama, Ryan. Pwede na silang mag-stock ng popcorn. Kasi kakailanganin nila yan sa mga discussions na mangyayari dyan sa Senado. And sabi ng iba dito, Orion, sana magdala ka daw ng chippy. Pag inibita ka
magdadala ako ng chippy at saka ko para dyan. Actually, ito pa, sasabihin ko talaga, by the way, isa ako sa mga 10 million plus OFWs na nagbabayad ng sweldo ninyo. Kaya kami talaga ang tunay yung boss. Kasi kami mga OFW, ang nagpapadala ng pera sa Pilipinas, sa aming mga pamilya, na ang ginagastos nila, yan yung nagsisirculate around the economy, which becomes part of your sweldo. Yung mga taxpayers, yung mga taxes na binabayad, yung mga IVAT na yan, yung iba dyan pumupunta dyan sa sweldo ninyo. Galing yan sa aming mga OFW. Kaya kami, pag nabanas kaming mga OFW, makinig kayo. Kasi banas na kami na ang dami sa amin kinakailangan, napakalayo sa pamilya. Di ba? Tapos, ito kayo, ayaw nyo ng mga reforma para naman makauwi na kami. Yun.
Isipin na lang nila yung mga dollar reserves na generated by our OFWs. Ang laki ng bagay nun. At kaya nga, nagsusurvive yung economy natin dahil sa mga OFW rin natin, sa mga remittances na pumapasok sa Pilipinas. Malaking factor talaga yun. Diba? And that's why also, Ryan, diba, taas rin ang ating credit rating sa sa mga financial institutions because of the fact that we have a very stable economy due to the revenue coming from OFWs and of course the investment coming in from foreign direct investment, which could actually be more if we remove the restrictions.
Yes.
So that ends our program, Orion. Wag natin kakalimutan yung yung mga reminders ng DOH, ng gobyerno, mask, iwas, sugas, at magkalat ng fake news, at wag matakot magpabakuna. Nagpabakuna ka na, Orion, di ba? Diyan sa Singapore.
Yes, nakadalawa na ako.
Ang balita ko, may iba dyan, gusto daw Sinovac.
Meron nga mga ganon dito. May ganon dito. Nagusto yan.
Ayun, so wag po tayo magmatakot magpabakuna, at kung as much as possible, we are encouraging people to research on the topics we discuss here on Istoryang Futbolero to enrich yourselves so that you will be able to have a proper discourse with other people who have different ideas from your own. Diba, Orion? That's the way to go.
Yes, indeed.
Follow Orion's lead. Do some more research and try to absorb as much information as you can so you can be a good advocate for the reforms that we're pushing for. So, yun. Orion, enjoy your weekend. Maraming salamat sa iyong oras. Yun, na-extend yung ating 30 minutes to 1 hour and 8 minutes. Pero okay lang. Kahit walang chippy si Orion, mukhang masaya ka pa rin naman. RIP to our good friend and mentor and former colleague, si Secretary Gary Olivar, at kahit na nakakalungkot na nawala na siya. Grabe nun, ang ganda ng mga kwentuhan natin nung kasama siya. Orion So hindi natin makakalimutan yun.
I really feel bad because he was one of my closest friends in the group eh. So
Mm.
tapos
Ako rin eh. Actually, ako rin.
madalas ko siyang kausap eh. So siya, a very jovial guy and he never pulled rank.
Mm.
Nakikinig lagi sa mga inputs ko, no. So ganun eh, parang it's sayang talaga ay he was one of the greatest resources we had for particularly
Yeah.
dun sa house. Talagang
Mm-mm.
talaga siya. So rest in peace, Sec Gary.
Sakari, you'll be you'll be in spirit, and we're hoping in your memory that we can make this happen before the term of
Say hi
2012.
to Father Eliseo Mercado, si Father June Mercado, and to Prof. Alfred Sureta as well.
Prof. Alfred rin,
So,
one of
pag,
our staunch
kumustahin
advocates.
niyo na lang kami. Yes.
Oh,
So,
us.
yeah,
So
we lost
Orion,
a few.
enjoy your Netflix this weekend, Orion.
Yeah.
Simulan mo na yung uh, Henshin
Batusay. Ayan.
Batusai.
Batusay.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
All right, thank you.
See
Thank
you
you.
soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.